And we're back. Yeah, check this audio. What's up? Getting ready to get back into some prep work here. Oh, get the hair out of my face. All right. Gonna finish up these base parts and start sanding down the body parts next. Then fill in some gaps, doing all that stuff. The rest of the sanding shouldn't take too long, so should be done with it in an hour or so, hopefully. Happy Saturday to you. Oh man, hey, thanks, Drastic. I appreciate that, man. I'm still working on my video production skills. Started off kind of shaky, but I feel like I'm making steady improvements as like every video I make. People have been helping me out with getting the audio balanced and music versus voiceover, and try different camera angles and different setups, and I think I'm honing in on perfection. At least I hope. I printed these pretty good, just straight up verticals. I don't think I have really a whole lot to knock off here. Make sure there aren't any little supports in here. My first couple work sessions are always just sanding and prep. But if I play my cards right, I may be able to get into priming today, which would be cool. I'm glad I didn't do the transparency on this one, the fire and stuff. I should be able to blow through the prep work pretty quickly. Prepping transparent pieces takes a little bit extra. And this one has got so much going on in the base detail that I'm going to be focused on that, just getting it painted, let alone prepping transparent parts. I want to get all these base pieces cleaned up and assembled so that I can move along pretty quickly. So I've got to do one more dusting with my airbrush because these lots of little detail parts. I'm going to trim the keys off a little bit just so they don't bottom out when they hit when I put them in the base. I'm just going to take some of the tops off of these keys right here. They don't need to be that deep. good. How about this last, this finger over here? Oh, hey, thanks. I do need more light. I think I need more light in this enclosure, though. Seems like it might be a little dark on screen. I don't know. But also, I'm getting old, so my eyes aren't picking up as much light as they used to. That's one of those weird things I've definitely noticed. I to reorient my stuff. I'm right-handed. I should keep all my tools on the right. Knock down some of these little sanding dimples. You have an idea which model is next after Rogue? Well, actually, after Rogue, I'm gonna, because the holidays are coming up, and I've got a couple gift statues I want to make. I'm probably gonna start on those. So it's gonna be a Miles Morales and a character from Baldur's Gate for my son. So yeah, I'm probably gonna start on those next, just so I'm not running out of time. Rogue's gonna take me probably half of October to finish, and then the Miles will probably take into November, and then the last one will probably be November to December. Then I start a holiday break at work. I'm basically off for half the month of December, which is great. And I'm gonna do a Thanos. I'm gonna do a quarter scale Thanos. It's gonna be huge. And then I think I'm gonna start 2025 with a run of villains. I don't have any bad guys in my collection. So, but I also want to I really want to do those Deadpool statues from Wicked they just released. I really want to do Deadpool Wolverine and Lady Wolverine. I mean Lady Deadpool, sorry. So yeah, I want to do those at some point too. So I got plans. I'm basically booked for the rest of the year. These statues take me about half a month. About 2.5 weeks to turn if I stay on them, pretty consistently. Life doesn't get in the way. And I will take some time at Thanksgiving. Got some family coming in, so probably be off that week. Not really doing a whole lot of hobbying, but see what happens. I have a beast I need to do. I need to do a storm. I'm trying to round out my X-Men collection. So the beast is cool, and the storm, all the ones from Wicked, I'm trying to stay focused on those. I like that set. Good set, good collection. These fingers are pretty easy to deal with. That's good. Here's the spot. Oh yeah, yeah, that's cool. CA Studios does some really good work. I've seen. I know that Weapon X statue you're talking about. That one's pretty rad. What are you working on now? I wish YouTube would let you post pictures in chat. I guess that's kind of counterintuitive though. Not really not really meant to do that, but it would be cool to be able to share stuff. I always enjoy seeing other people's stuff. Got to roll this into a little tube. Sanding tube. These little fire parts are really super delicate. Yeah, I'm really excited for that Thanos. I I'm gonna put up a shelf in the corner of my office where I have a bunch of Avengers posters, and he's gonna be perfect and taking up a big corner of my room. Oh, the She-Hulk, nice. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool statues. I need more female representation in my collection as well. Partly why I'm doing this Rogue right now. Um, but I also, like I said, I want to do a Storm. I got a really good Storm statue from Wicked. I want to do. Smooth out this fire a little bit. Support divots. I love this grinding pin, man. You just barely touch it. Just it's gone. Like it never happened. And it is counterintuitive, but the lighter the touch, the better with this thing. Because if you push on it, it'll flatten areas out. Plus, the dust collects inside on the disc, and so if you keep it light, then it just throws the dust out, and then your little sanding pad lasts a little longer that way. Yeah, send me a email Gmail with the Weapon X. If you have any pictures of it, I'd like to see it. It's also hard to find, like, Wicked does a good job for like female characters, but like I don't want a lot of overly sexualized, female characters in my collection. That just kind of weirds me out. So, finding good female character designs that aren't just all boobs and butts is sometimes a little difficult. I'm not prude or anything. I just if I invite people into my studio in my office, I don't want them looking at me weird. It's my own personal thing, but that's me. There's one tiny thin nick right here, and it just tore through the resin, and I'm trying to even it out without completely destroying it. It's a very, very thin spot. Ribbon, it's like a ribbon of resin. Ugh, this looks like a chunk is missing out of it. I don't like it. Let's do it this way. I also don't want to flatten it out either, so. Sorry, I know you guys can't see what I'm doing, but the lighting in my little prep box is not great for showing showing you guys what I'm doing and me myself being able to see it. Oh wait, used to support. I think that's good enough. Yeah, that. I'm surprised I haven't broken that off yet. Oh, there's a bad spot. How did I miss that? A little delaminated underside. There we go, right as rain. Where's my hair? Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Speaking of being able to do things the way you want, like all of my bases, the long plinth kind of bottom parts that Wicked produces, I try to do all those in plate mail silver, the dry brush. Kept it really super simple from the very, very beginning, and so all of my bases have that same treatment, and it just looks cool because they all kind of match on the plinth parts, which is neat. But yeah, it's cool because like you said, you can adjust, you change colors or establish color patterns in certain ones. Like all my Avengers statues, have the same base, same general kind of look, which is really cool. You see all six of them together. I've always wanted to have a statue collection, and I almost got into just buying, studio made ones. I'm so happy that I chose to go the other route, which is to make on my own. Because this is way more fulfilling, doing it yourself. versus just buying. No, I mean, I love the studio, the big studio jobs. You know, I love their work, but also it's like, you know, I know that they have like the prototype factory where they make, you know, the primary statue, but you know they send it off to China and it gets kind of mass manufactured. Even you know thousands, you know, a couple, 500, 1,000 of them or whatever. That to me is just like, eh. I'd rather have my own effort and energy put into it and something I can look at and, you know, I don't know. Feels good. It feels good to have a collection of stuff that I've made versus, you know, the studio, big studio pieces. Oh, hey, thanks, Past Master Dan. I am fabricating some stuff, that's for sure. Of course, post apocalypse, all these skills are going to be completely useless. But unless I can barter my statues for food. Oh yeah, yeah, drastic. That Joker statue is pretty good. um, for a Joker statue, what I would do is paint a skin tone like I would normally paint a skin tone, and then actually apply like a powder, like a white powdery makeup to it, so you still get a little bit of that fleshiness to come through. Um, that's what I would do for a Joker. I need to do a Joker actually, since I'm talking about doing a villain run in 2025. Um, I think the Joker will definitely be high on my list. I still don't have a really good Batman though. I need a I got several choices now, but I haven't done a really good Batman. I kind of want to do that Batman and Catwoman under the lamppost diorama that Wicked produced. I kind of want to do that statue because it looks pretty good. But I mean, there's not a whole lot to it. It's you know, it's black on black on black, and you know, some bricks. And but if I put a light in it, I don't know. I've got a quarter scale slot still. I may do that. I don't know. We'll see. See how the year plays out next year. I mean, does Catwoman count as a villain? She's more like a anti-hero. I don't know. I wouldn't call Catwoman a villain. She does steal. You know, she's the thief, but she's not like trying to you know, do bad shit. Sulking Batman or action Batman? That's where I'm at. I don't know. I'm thinking more of a brooding Batman. Yeah, yeah, an antagonist. Yeah, I'm not gonna put limits on what I do. I just go with my gut, you know. But I definitely want to do more villains starting in 2025. Starting with Thanos in December. I want to do more villains, at least for a couple runs. There's a good Bane. There's a good Bane in Batman. I might do. Yeah, the Prime One Batman. Yeah, that's good. Um, yeah, I may do a Bane in Batman. That combo might suffice. Where he's like Nightfall. I think Nightfall Batman, Nightfall series. I might do that. There's one where he's standing on his, what's that thing called? Spotlight. That would be cool to put some LEDs in that. The Miles Morales that I'm doing next, I've chosen one that I'm going to put it's got a light up base. Very, very subtle. You know, it's for a young kid, so I don't want to like make a too big of a statue, but I want it to be big and kind of big enough that it's cool. So yeah, I'm excited about working on that next. I really can't wait to get to this Rogue, the portrait on Rogue, because the head printed out so good with all the hair and stuff. I'm super stoked to get some paint on it. Oh, Killer Croc! I haven't seen a good Killer Croc statue. I have not seen one. Yeah, the Breaking the Bat Bane statue. That was the one I was talking about. I think I might do that one. There's also a who's the mud guy? Clayface. There's a good Clayface statue I have with fighting Batman. I may end up doing that. Well, so many good statues to do. So much work ahead. I've got years and years worth of statues to do, honestly. Yeah, I live um, I live close to Atlanta, so I need to go to Comic Con with some of my statues and get them autographed. It would be so cool to have Channing Tatum sign my Gambit. I may have to make that happen. All right, those parts are done. Let's do some body parts here. Actually, do these saw blades? I don't think these saw blades need any prep removal or any support removal. No, these are good. Yeah, these rogue parts are awesome. I'm so happy. I've been looking into how I'm gonna do the hold on, let me get these parts in here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. The the design on Rogue's costume that they have. Obviously, the boots are yellow, so that's not a big deal. But the see, they got these wide stripes here on the legs. So the inner part's yellow, obviously, all the way down. So that's yellow. The outer part's green. So this wide stripe here, I don't know what to do with it, or I'm kind of contemplating what to do with it because the way it connects to the body, there's like this inside part, like this is yellow, this is green, but this stripe widens here. So I'm thinking I'm gonna do this like a shiny, almost like a metallic green, and then do the outside like kind of a matte green. You know, I've got all my paints set out. I'm gonna start paint testing soon. Yeah, getting a shout out from Graham would be a morale booster, that's for sure. Um, so yeah, the color combos here, the way they come together, I'm gonna have to play with. I think it's gonna be super dope though. I'm looking forward to it. To print this, to get this lower body printed was kind of a pain. You can see I've got a whole lot of dimples, like a whole lot of pock marks down here on the bottom. Because there's really no good way to orient this without destroying the texture somewhere. So I chose obviously the least visible spots, which is this underside here. I'm gonna try to sand this down without completely destroying this texture. I'm really just knocking off the support marks. Just gonna lightly, ever so lightly, knock those support marks down. You're not gonna really see it because it's facing the underside. So yeah, there was this supporting this piece without destroying the suit texture it kills me. It kills me to do this, but there was no other way to do it. My thought is, you gotta sacrifice one side to the print gods in order to get the rest of the print to come out. I don't want to fill it because, like, there's still this woven texture on the inside. I have heard that, or I have seen, if you put hot glue, like you take a hot glue and like basically make an imprint of the texture, you can then coat it in resin and then use that hot glue as a stamp and kind of stamp the texture back in and then cure it. So if this really bothers me, I may try that. I think it's going to be fine though. You're not really going to see it after I get it primed. Primer. Yeah, the Vallejo Black is really nice. I really like the Vallejo primers. I don't use a whole lot of Tamiya paints, to be honest. Vallejo and Citadel are my go-to. And then I inherited a bunch of craft paints from somewhere. And believe it or not, some of those actually come in handy. Little craft paints. I have some like what are they called? Iridescent craft paints that kind of shift colors. Those are fun. I got those for Aquaman to do underwater, do the underwater parts, little iridescence. But no, not a whole lot of Tamias. Yeah, you can see these spots are really starting to show. But I'm just knocking down the height of them. I just don't want to flatten out anything or try to hold on to as much of this texture as I can. There's one crease running through here that I don't want to destroy. Yeah, a lot of spots in here. This is the one I was kind of dreading. I'm barely putting any pressure on the sandpaper right now. Just knocking the peaks off the support marks. I just don't want them catching the light, Yeah, I like the Vallejo primers because they go through the airbrush really, really nice. I don't use the rattle can primers. I know a lot of people do, but for my workflow, I like to keep everything inside, and I just don't have an exhaust system that can deal with a rattle can primer. So the airbrush primer is really nice. Oh, is it non-water based? Yeah, dude, you can't. Yeah, you gotta. Those are tough to deal with because they will dry out your airbrush really quickly. Yeah, the Vallejos are water-based primers. So yeah, I tried to. The only other thing I run through my primer besides water-based stuff is alcohol ink, and then alcohol ink I can just clean out, airbrush clean pretty easily. All these little dimples are going to drive me nuts. I don't want to obliterate this texture. I'm trying really hard to keep it. But I would rather have a loss of texture than a pimply bottom. You know what I'm saying? Nobody likes a pimply bottom. Oh, that's a good idea. Some hardening clay, yeah. Yeah, with the rattle cans, I feel like you do kind of overspray easily. Whereas with the airbrush primers, you have a little more control over how much you use. But Vallejo white, gray, and black, they're all really, really good. I have all three for various reasons. And when you need to find something in white, But yeah, I would highly recommend just getting a set of Vallejo primers because they do a good job. I do like to give them a little bit longer to cure though, to fully dry before I start painting. I try to let them dry overnight, unless I'm just being really impatient and I hit them with a heat gun or a hair dryer. Um, I do try to let them dry naturally overnight though, if I can, before I get started painting. I've never had an issue with them pulling up though. Like I've never had primer come off. You know, knock on wood, but I got to see how much of this I'm tearing up here in just a second. I may try the texture transfer thing. I've never done it before, so I'm curious if it'll even work. And B, I'm not even sure if it's 100% necessary. Because, you know, like I said, when she's positioned and her long ass leg is jumping up, I mean, you're not going to see what I'm sanding at all. I just don't want dimples to show, like to stick out, you know, for light to catch. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're a bit pricey, but it's a good product. I wonder. I know Citadel makes a really good primer, but I think they just do rattle can primers. I don't know. I haven't seen a Citadel airbrush primer or a, you know, bottle that you run through an airbrush. I'm pretty happy with my workflow though. Until it doesn't work, I'm gonna keep chucking. So my workflow stops working. Oh, I'm sorry, Rogue. I'm just rubbing all the texture right out of your pants. I don't mind the small divots, but because those kind of actually blend in with the texture. Once I prime it, the divots will blend in with the texture just fine. Um, but the pock marks, the parts sticking up, that's what I'm trying to get rid of. There was so much suction on this print, like on this pole right here, because of the flat nature of it. It almost delaminated, and this was actually, I had to reprint this because it did delaminate the first time I printed it. The whole bottom part peeled off. So I reoriented it up just a little bit and then resupported it right there with arguably too many supports. But it looks pretty good, so I'm happy with it. Obviously, if I wasn't happy with it, I wouldn't be sanding it. Yeah, some of these are still ugly. I'm just barely grazing it. That's why it's taking so long. I'm just lightly, lightly scraping over this guy or these guys, these little spots. Like once I hit it just lightly enough, I can see where the spots are, and then I try to focus on them. So I'm not completely killing everything else underneath it, around it. What is that? Oh, that's a straight divot. It's a big chunk. Also, having partially used sandpaper helps because it's not like totally ripping through everything. Gives me a little bit of a grace with the sanding. Here's my rolled up one. There it is. Most of the supports also. Here's a little tip. Um, I ran supports along the seam, like underneath the ribbing of the seam there. It's a really good place to hide support marks. Is up against the piping, because where the texture comes together and meets the piping, it's kind of underneath it, so it doesn't catch as much light and you can barely see it. I forgot where I learned that little trick, but it's a good trick. So like even along the sides here where I needed to do some like just structural supports going up because it's very, very vertical. I ran some supports along the piping of the seam, and you can't even see it. Well, you can see a couple of them, but it just looks like a natural kind of place where two materials come together. So you expect a little imperfection. And yeah, it's hardly noticeable. Yeah, actually, I was talking about that last night on my last night stream about the Patreons. I understand that the artists out there trying to make money doing this, online. Total respect for that. I get it, but I don't think I'll ever do that because I like sharing my knowledge for free on my streams. If people want to hit that little buy button, thank you button, and throw a tip my way, that's cool. But I don't know. I don't feel right taking money from people. I'd rather share my knowledge freely. And I'll definitely take some ad revenue though. So hit that like and share. Get my shit out there. When I start making making bank from advertisers, I'll take corporate America's money all day long. But I don't want to take money from you guys and artists and street everybody else. Model that I finished sometimes with pieces that didn't finish. A layer shift. Do you mean like a layer shift in the print? Like when you printed it out? Um, Sometimes that'll happen if you got some Z wobble in your, on tall pieces in particular. If you notice it more on tall pieces, it's because your bed, this is cliche, but your bed's not level. When it gets taller, it's like a skyscraper in a earthquake. It's gonna wobble more. Um, so at the higher levels, and so the better quality your Z traverse is. So make sure your machine's lubricated, and that kind of stuff. And then make sure your plate's level. That will help with some layer shifting at higher stages. Um, Otherwise, if there's layer shift, it could just be an orientation problem. Remember, the flatter the print, the more pull there is, and the more pull there is, the more distortion there is. And so as it gets distorted, layer after layer after layer after layer, that distortion gets more and more and more. It's exponential. So it could just be the way you're orienting your prints, or it could be a mechanical, bed leveling thing. Not a bed level, a plate leveling thing. I only re-level my plate after I change my FEP. Like after I change out my VAT, I'll re-level the plate. But for the most part, I leave it pretty much the way once I have it set the way I like it. Or if I start to notice, like on tall prints, like I said, if I've got any sort of deformation at higher levels, I'll reset my plate. And sometimes that'll help. I hope that answered your question. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things. It's like you have to know your own machine and your own setup, and like everybody's solution is a little bit different because everybody's situation is a little bit different. Depends on your temperature you're printing at, and are you in a garage, are you in an enclosure, how much of your environmental environmental impacts are there? Temperature, a big one, but I don't think it's as big as I thought it was. The whole temperature thing. Um, at first I was super paranoid about it. I had an old Anycubic Mono X. It's like a mid-range printer, but I couldn't print it. I couldn't print tall pieces because I just couldn't get rid of the wobble. And after much trial and error, I narrowed it down to, well, it has to be a mechanical issue, and changing out the Z rod and the Z motor. But I didn't want to fool with all that, so I ran one last print off of it. It ended up being a commission piece, and that commission piece paid for a new printer. So yeah, that's true too. The surface that your printer is on has to be stable. I ran into that the first couple of years I did it. Um, exact same thing. I ended up using just like little wads of paper to kind of balance because my table wasn't even. So I ended up just like manually kind of balancing my printer feet with it, adjusting little screws on the feet to level everything off. But yeah, you definitely have to have a level surface to print on. Now I have a heavy duty, kind of closet shelf that I use. I use an IKEA cabinet as my printing enclosure, and those IKEA shelves are pretty stable. Um, so yeah, highly recommend that as well. If you're looking for a cheapish enclosure, for me personally, I needed a whole lot of space, so I got I got a really big cabinet, so I could cut a hole in it and add ventilation and stuff. I added a grow tent enclosure ventilation system to it. Just cut a little 4-inch hole, on the side of the IKEA cabinet, and then just ran the grow tent exhaust fan through there out to a window. You know, make sure your shit's ventilated. You don't want to mess around with those toxic fumes. I'm trying really hard not to do too much right here. I may just have to live with these, because these are visible spots. Trying to hold on to some of this texture. Just knocking down these high spots. Trying to just sand horizontally like this, because then it kind of mimics some of the folds in the suit, blends in a little bit, following the lines of the suit. All right. Ugh, I can still see them. Hey there. A little bit more. Yeah, I may try that texture replacement thing with a hot glue gun. Just mainly for my own edification. I want to see if it actually works. If it doesn't, it's no big loss, because like I said, you're not going to see it down here. But if it does work, I'll use it on other places. I've yet to try that technique. To go steal my wife's hot glue gun. I don't think I even have one. Yeah, there you go. Like I want this to be smooth, but I want it to be rounded as well. So can't have flat spots in it, which is what I'm seeing right now. I really do not want to. I want to stop touching this, but I can't. All right. I did have a little bit of delamination right there. I can see some lines where it pulled. There's just no way to avoid it. This is a side I had to sacrifice to the print gods. All right, I think once I get that primed, even if I don't do the texture replacement thing, I think once I get that primed, I'm not going to see that. Cool, cool, cool. Oh, I don't like that. So much good texture back here, I don't want to lose it. I also don't want to have a dimply butt either. All right, I'm being too paranoid now. I think once I get it primed to be painted, you're not going to see any of this. That's what I was saying, like right there along the piping, a couple little support marks, but they're easy enough to hide the divots because they are kind of nestled right along the edge of the piping. Really good place to put support. I don't even have to do what I'm doing right now. I'm just, really sensitive to it. Do I use pre-supports or auto supports? Neither. I do well. Sometimes I'll use an auto support if it's something like those fingers on the base. Um, some if I don't care too much about the damage or like where the auto supports are going to run, but I will go back and correct the auto support. I do use the projection supports on Lychee, which are really nice. The projection supports basically will like I use projection supports here. Just select surfaces, and it runs a double edge border around it, and then you can tell what the infill is. I think I use like a 4mm infill, and the projection supports really speed up the process. But for my precious parts, the actual detail parts, those I do all manual supports. It looks like Snoopy with his helmet on. Yeah, for stuff like this, the highly detailed stuff, I do all this myself manually. I like having the control. Pre-supports don't work in Lychee very well, so I don't typically. Sometimes I'll use the pre-supports for reference though. Like I'll open up the pre-supports and I'll see how the manufacturer decided they wanted to print it. So I'll use that as a guide, but then I'll often go back and kind of mimic it and do it myself. I overly support my models because I would rather deal with a whole lot of cleanup work versus a bunch of failures, a bunch of failed prints. So yeah, I typically will over support my models a little bit. That's just me personally. I am going to release a tutorial on how I do my supports. I've had several people ask for it. I chose this model though to do that tutorial, and I arguably chose the most difficult pieces I could have chosen. Yeah, like I said, the Chi2 box pre-supports I think are probably good. I don't use Chi2 box. I use the Lychee, but just sand this down a little bit. It's all underneath the boot, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, I use the pre-supports just to kind of as a guide, but I like having my own setup. Takes a little longer, yes, but I think it gives a better quality. Might be some extra prep work, but you know, I'm not doing this to be fast. I'm not a statue factory. I'm doing this to have a good time. And to have conversation with fine folks like you. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to putting this. Is going to be a really nice print. I'm really looking forward to it. I feel like I can do a good job on it now. It's weird because it's like I knew that my skills would get better as I went, and so there's some statues that I purposely have been waiting to do until I worked out the kinks on some other stuff. Like I probably rushed my Avengers models because they're not that great. Like Black Widow's eyes are a little messed up. I made a couple little errors here and there. The metal on Iron Man I could have done a lot better. Now that I know how to do metals, I could have done that a little better. But that's why I'm waiting. That's why I'm doing Thanos in December. Now I feel like I've got a good handle on, you know, non-skin tones, and doing metal parts and doing transparencies and working with ink, working with different varnishes. There's a whole lot of like little tiny little skills that really just build up, you know, to make a statue good. And now it's really fun because I feel like I've ironed out enough kinks that I can do some really good work. The biggest one on this one is how to work with yellow, like painting and tinting yellow, like shadowing yellow. Ground affected, you know, Brent, he did, aka my dad, he did a really good tutorial on his rogue and how to do yellows. So I'm probably going to follow. I'm going to try that at least with a spoon test. I'm also going to try a couple different techniques. I've got several yellows and greens to test before I put it on this model. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing all that. Yeah, I'm not part of my printer. Part of my tutorial is not going to be about print timing and that kind of stuff because, like you said, everybody's got different printers. Everybody's got different resins they like to use. So you know, working out your print timing, that's your business. But orientation, that's universal. Like learning how to orient parts properly took me a really long time. And if I can save other people that headache, then I will certainly do that. I just got sand in there a little bit. Also, I think that key is a little tall. Let's knock that key down. Your keys will expand when you print. You know, just all resin will kind of expand and warp a little bit. Um, so I like to trim down the top of my key just so it doesn't bottom out. You know, when it fits. See, like that fixed it. That looks fucking fantastic, actually. Super happy with that. Nice. How do I paint close to edges without getting paint on the other half? Well, masking it, or also just getting some magnifying glasses and or magnifying, you know, lens. And that's just magnifying and having a steady hand, bro. You know, um, I am doing a lot more masking nowadays than I used to do because I have a kick-ass airbrush, and I do more airbrush painting now, and so that means I have to do more masking now. So yeah, masking off parts is a good way to keep separation. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but masking itself is a trick. Like I didn't land on a solid masking technique until just earlier this year. Um, I use Plastitac and plastic wrap to mask because it's fast, it's clean, it's reusable. Um, I really like it a lot. But yeah, masking it, even masking is just something a skill that you also have to learn. A couple little dimples in here. It's not gonna You're not gonna see them, but it is gonna affect how it fits together. So knock these down a little bit. These legs were great because I could print them basically like it's called skyscraper printing, where you use the model to support itself as it prints. So with stuff that's really tall and linear, like these legs, I basically just stood it up on its end, printed it like this. There are hardly any supports at all on these. So these printed out really super nice. I'm really happy. Texture's amazing. There's no support marks. There's no damage. A couple little supports right there. And then anywhere I did put supports like this is under the lip of the ridges. And so you would have to look hard to see it. Like I actually didn't even notice it until just now. But anywhere you can hide supports, like along a seam or underneath, it makes it a little harder to sand and get to remove, but at the same time, it's less visible. So even if you can't get in there to remove them fully, nobody's going to see them anyway. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's part of the challenge of this hobby is figuring out how to work around geometry and paint around stuff, thinking it through when you're assembling it and printing it. You know, that's something I've definitely learned. Like dry fitting is important. Make sure you're make sure you're completely happy with how everything fits together and how all the surfaces look, all the textures look. Make sure you're completely happy with that shit before you start painting. Because once you start, you can compensate. Like there are times where I've had to, you know, I've primed and you can still see spots. You can go back and sand it down, prime it again. But after you get past that stage, then it gets a little more of a troublesome kind of situation. But yeah, just making sure everything is exactly the way you want it before you get heavy into printing or painting. Don't rush through the the pre-production process. I used to do that too. I used to get so anxious or so like ready to get to the painting part that I would rush through the pre-production, and I would often like hit myself later. And sometimes, like I said, it can be avoided by like just not putting parts together until the very end. You know, like painting parts separately versus gluing them together early on. But then stuff, other things like where you need to hide a seam, you got to go ahead and get that stuff assembled and prepped. So every situation is a little bit different. That's what makes it fun and a constant challenge. That's what I love about this hobby and why it's stuck with me for so long. I've tried so many other hobbies. This one is the only one that has really stuck with me because it's always a challenge. It's the same process every time, but it's always a challenge. And it makes it super worthwhile. So here I'm trying to hit these under edges, undercuts, without hitting the visible surface in front of it. I don't want to do that. There's no reason to. I'm just kind of taking this paper very thinly, going around this undercut and just knocking down any little support marks. You'd have to look really super hard to see it anyway. So I'm not too worried about it. I know it's there. Nobody else would. right? Yeah, exactly. Although sometimes you don't see the body damage until after you get a layer of primer on it. So what I like to do if I know I'm going to run into a situation like that, particularly with anything I had to seal a scene on, I'll give it a dusting of primer just so I can sort of see what I'm working with. And then the primer actually acts as an indicator so you can see like where your low spots are and how much you need to sand down. It's really hard to see how much you need to sand right now at this level because everything's the same color. When you got a layer of primer, it basically shows you exactly where your spots are. Check out, there's a link. I got this sanding enclosure from Amazon. There's a link in my channel description to it, a little affiliate link. And this is actually a jewelry, like a jewelry prep box, I think. But yeah, check out the link in my description. There's a whole list of the equipment that I use. And I just got this off of Amazon. I think it was like 90 bucks. You know, not cheap, but totally worth it. Oh my God. I can't even tell you how much this has improved my experience because everything stays contained. None of the rest of my studio, the rest of my shit isn't covered in dust. I don't feel like I'm breathing it in. This exhaust is great. There's a collection bag on the back side of this, just sucking everything in. And then at the end of the project, I just go in here with a little shop vac and suck it all up, and I'm ready for the next project. Yeah, totally. This sanding enclosure, this sanding pen, this thing is awesome. I would not use a sanding pen though without the enclosure because this thing throws off so much dust. Like this thing just obliterates the resin. So no, it's not a filter. It's a collection bag. So there's like a, you know, there's a really long sock. It looks like basically. It'll take years to fill it up, so I'm not even worried about it. Um, but yeah, do like I used to wet sand everything because I was tired of having dust everywhere. I used to wet sand it before I got this enclosure, but now that I have this enclosure, it just totally changed the game. Like I don't have to wear eye protection because you know nothing's getting through this glass, obviously, and just the dust, the debris, everything stays collected. I, I love this box. Probably one of the best investments I've made in this hobby. You could ventilate this to the outside if you wanted to. Probably a booger bag. Yes, a booger bag. I thought I was the only one that did it. So, that's fine. But yeah, it's like you could ventilate this stuff to the outside. Same thing with my airbrush box. I don't actually ventilate it to the outside, but I do have like 2 layers of filter to collect the paint particles. Um, I do ventilate my resin enclosure to the outside though, because that's just actually poisonous. But my yeah my airbrush box is just a filtration system. This is a dust collection system, and yeah, I love this setup. It's really good. Total game changer. All right, being way too detailed with this now. Nobody's gonna even see any of this. But I lean towards the you know, when people look at your statues, the first thing they're going to say is, you know, that's so detailed. You know, they're looking at the details, and so that part is, you know, I want to make sure as clean as possible because when you really lean into it and you start looking, you see like a little broken spot or a little support mark here and there. Takes away from the uh, overall impact, I think. Not a whole lot. And from a distance, and from my, you know, doing the photography and the videos and stuff, you would never see it. But in real life, I like to make sure. this stuff is cleaned up as much as I can. All right, I think that's good. Let's check this fit. Oh, what's here? That is pretty solid fit. Did I check this one? Yeah, I did. That is pretty solid fit right there. Happy with that. That I don't need to sand, but I do want to trim this key. Not too much. Under a process of creating. Nice. You have. It sounds like you probably have a pretty hefty collection of comics. Then I would take it. I never got into collecting comics. I was a little personal lore, but I was really poor growing up, you know, and never really got to collect comics. I wish I had. It's one of those things it would have been cool, but that wasn't in the cards for me. So now I get to indulge myself with this statue creation, and I get to be a big kid, which is really, really nice. I don't want to change the height of this organic shape where it fits together, but I do want to get these support marks knocked down so it kind of, fits nicely. Not too much. 30 long boxes? Dang. A lot. How many comics does each box hold? I feel like that's a lot. $300. Yeah. Dang. Right on. That's cool. The key is still hitting. A lot of swelling on this. Something's hitting. I don't want to mess with any of that. But I do have a little bit of wobble. Oh, right there, I can see I'm hitting right there. Yeah, you know what? Knock this down right there. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta give them some room to breathe a little bit, especially if you're you know trying to keep their conditions keep them in good condition. I'm rubbing these together really hard right now to see if I can mark where they're hitting. See, like right there. I don't know if you can see that, but it leaves like a little bit of a scar where I can see where the hit is happening. Right there. Just getting this fit right. Down some of these high spots. I think it's rocking on the inside there. Yeah, I can see where it's hitting right there. Missing support. That's what's the problem. There's my issue right there. Oh, I'm on low speed here. There we go. Blast it. I like this exhaust system because I can see the dust flying in there. It's kind of fun. Let's sand this down quite a bit because I want the outside to make connection less than the inside. Right now, these high spots are killing me. The problem is like the way I oriented it. I oriented it from the bottom. There's a lot of pull from the bottom, so it made the bottom swell. That's what I'm trying to even out. But it's so like organic that like if it makes contact in one place and not in another, it just rocks back and forth. So it's a kind of a balancing act. But generally speaking, I'm just going to shave down this whole inside here. That should help. I want this to fit together nicely. For these high spots, I got to go. I'm trying to leave the edge intact. Just trying to just get these high spots. For the internal spots, I should say. The ridge where stuff kind of sits together. Knock that down some. Everything else should recess enough that it should fit together much nicer now. I could go in and kind of fill the gap and then take it back apart I've seen some people do that where they put a layer of latex mask and then they fill it with, then they do the resin, like they fill the gap with resin, and then when they pull it off, it still stays disconnected, so you still get two separate pieces. But the resin has filled the space. I try to avoid that when I can. Still high. Let's see, where's Rubbin? Rubbin's racing. No, I can't see. I could probably take with like a marker or something, mark this up real good, and then rub the sides to see, like, to transfer it, so I can see like where it's rubbing. It's so close to being perfect. So it's very upsetting. All right. I'm just gonna take this middle down some more and keep trucking. Get these little parts out of the way here. Talking about just little millimeters of distance that I'm trying to compensate for, and it's hard to keep it all even because the shape of this thing, it's not like an even subtraction all the way around, you know. It's like spotty here and there. You just got to try to eliminate the spots. The sanding pin is great though. I couldn't imagine trying to do this without it. Would suck. Oh, I see, right there is where it was hitting. I wasn't getting close enough to the edge. Again, I don't want to go too close because I want the edge to be the tallest parts, but the insides definitely knock down. Right here's where the biggest offender. There's a swell right here, right around this drain hole. Also could have just been a bunch of debris down in the bottom of this thing. I didn't even think about that. Those tweezers. Make sure that's clean. Oh, that may have been my problem. If I just did all that work and the issue was I was being a dumbass, I'm going to be very upset with myself. Yeah, I'm really happy with the quality of this model because I was able to hold on to a lot of this texture. There's no damage on the front. There's a little bit right here in the coat, but I can hide that in the leather texture. So for the most part, well, that wasn't the total summation of the problem, but that definitely helps. I could stop right now and live with that. but I have some high spots here in the back that I want to get rid of. I wish I could see where it was rubbing a little better. Just gonna err on the side of knocking them all down and as much as I can. Totally changing the shape of this thing. Yeah, I think I just had a whole lot of swelling in here. Getting the parts to fit together is always the biggest pain. And yeah, some people would probably just, do the fill trick and call it a day, but I think I can shave this down enough, make it work. Power sand and resin. You also don't want to breathe in this resin dust. I mean, that's a pretty obvious statement, but having this enclosure makes it so much better because I used to have to wear a mask. And then, yeah, like I said, I just got dust everywhere. I hated it. I would have to stop mid-project often and just clean up my tools and clean up my area so that I wasn't transferring dust to the final paint. The quality of my paint has improved just because I'm not in a, dusty environment. I don't think you guys can even see this, but I'm watching. It's like snowdrifts of resin dust getting sucked into the exhaust. All right, I feel like I'm getting close. Oh yeah, much better. Still got a little rock in there, but right there in the front, I need to take this high spot down. My paper might be done. Time to change pads. Yeah, let's do that. Let's change pads. It's not removing as much as it once did. Stay hydrated. All right. Back to it. Now she's working. Glad I don't have too many little delicate parts to worry about negotiating around on these. I can really just kind of manhandle these parts a little bit. Much better. Like I said, I can live with that. I'm going to try to do a little bit more right here, though. Bring that side to a little bit better contact. There's a belt kind of around here that is visible. I'm trying to not hit that. And my sanding head is just wide enough that it kind of fits through, but just barely. The more I deform this, though, the more points of contact I'm making. I'm trying to not do too much. But internally, these little high ridges are no bueno. Completely unnecessary. So. Oh, yep, see, now I can see it right there. I'm hitting. Right there for some reason. This is a really high spot. I'm just going to work on this for a second. I think that's where it's rocking. The more flat spots you make, the more points of contact you make. So, wants to rock, just wants to move around. And I do want to keep the lower half and the upper half separate until assembly. painting up in here. It's gonna be a pain if the legs are in the way. This is a little more effort than I usually go to, but it'll be worth it. You're a little hungry. 3 o'clock already? That sucks. Look, I just got started. I'll probably just do this until about 4:30 or 5 and take a quick dinner siesta and then get back to it. I want to make some progress on this today, and time is flying by apparently. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, we're done. That's it. I felt it lock right in. Like, boom. Tiny bit of a seam, but not worth it. What was that at? Right there. Tiny bit right there. I can see it now. I can see a ridge. This was a ridge of my own creation. The rest of this bit is just on the spot. Just come here. Yep, that is good enough for government work. Oh, it's rubbing on the belt. See where it's rubbing right there. That down a little tiny bit. Said I'm done. No, I'm not done. Even better. Now I'm done. These hands with these armholes. Fitted. And then I just got to do the portrait, and then I can start sealing gaps. It's very dimply. Belly's growling. I need to stop for some dinner soon. Early dinner. Or late second lunch for your hobbit. I didn't have lunch today. I just kind of we slept late, so had a big brunch. Typical Saturday around this house, and I do enjoy it. Our eating times are weird. There's nothing down in that keyhole. A little scratch. Alright, well that works nicely. There's supposed to be a little bit of a jacket seam there anyway. Well, do I want to seal this? I don't think I do. Trying to seal it would probably make it look terrible. And there's a nice texture there I don't want to lose. Get one more pass right there. Again, this was the main support bottom, so there's a lot of pull right here. A lot of swelling. And where it transitions from low to high is where you get your contact points.
I have designed this speaker to amplify my thoughts so people won't quit asking me for sandwiches. That should work right.
I don't know what you're talking about, Space Ghost.
Go ahead, Moltar.
Twist it back a little bit. So this hand goes in here. Look at the weird edge right here.
Yeah, we poked you with sticks till you fell down. Remember?
You sure I didn't harness the power of the sun?
No, it's definitely sticks. Beaten with sticks.
All right, go get 'em. How's it going, man?
tucked down in there, deep enough that I don't need to worry about it too much.
Welcome to the program.
Like that little edge right there.
It started? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
That'll do. I'm also going to keep these separate little hands so that they can be painted and attached later. I'm gonna pre-glue these jacket sleeves on so the jacket's this side went together pretty good already, so I don't have to do too much work on this side. Just knocking down any pulls, any support pulls. Tighten that up just a little bit. A lot of little drain holes in here. Always check your keyholes. Look at that little chunk. Ooh, that's a big chunk. Goes in. Okay. Don't matter. I'm not running electrical to this one. So. Oh wow, that's a nice fit. All right, cool. Yeah, that was good. That's good to go. Damn. check her hands. I think they should be pretty clean, but that's a nice fit too. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Love it. Check for some supports on these fingers. These fingers printed out perfectly. I was super happy with how they printed out. Usually fingers have a little bit of a pull on them because of the way they orient. But yeah, these turned out super nice. And then right around the cuffs, right around the cuff of the glove is where I put some supports. Knock those down, but they blend in with the texture, so it's not too bad. I'll knock them down a little bit now that I see them. Another one too. Where's it at? Bit of an overhang here. Oh, my belly's growling. I'm getting super hungry. These fingers. Yeah, super happy. Those turned out really nice. All right, I believe I'm good to go on these body parts. I need to sand the back of the jacket a little bit. And underneath back here. No one's gonna see it, but if you do catch it out of the side of your eye, I don't want to have a bunch of puff marks in there. Underneath here, I put a couple eye spots. along this jacket fold. I hit a few. Knock down the high spots. I have to destroy this leather. Sure. And then on the inside of the jacket, I remember there was one spot I need to hit. I want her jacket to look all junky. Nobody's even see that. They will see this. Cool, cool, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Airbrush, I'll blow out the rest of this dust. It should all be good. Let's knock this off just a smidge. Oh, this is going to be so good. Can't wait. I'm not going to do that texture thing. I'm over the prep work now. Everything else, it looks good. You're not going to be able to see it when she's standing. That seam looks good. Not great, but it's barely there. This arm seam looks good. That looks good. Quality control, baby. I've got to twist that into position a little bit, but that's livable. That looks, check that elbow. Yeah, that looks good. It's a little deep, but once I get some paint in there, you're not going to see it. Edge of his fingers look good. Check these boot pits one more time. That looks better than it looked the first time. It's fantastic. She's tall. Got some legs. That fits like that. Should be good to go. All right. Oh, let's clean up some of this mess here. That's the problem with having my tools on the right-hand side. Get in the way. There's a little bit of blowback in that exhaust. Hitty. I'm hitting. Here. It's fun. Garbage. Pieces of paper are done. Clean that up a little bit. Alcohol or something. Trying to keep my shit tidy. I'll blow these all with the airbrush duster. I'm thinking about getting one of those little turbo duster things from Amazon. That's my next little hobby toy. I can use it to dust my statues in the office, you know, when I do my dusting days. But also to clean parts. It would be super handy. So I may invest in one of those turbo dusters. Turbo micro duster things. They keep pushing an ad at me. Every time I see it, I'm like, ooh, I want that. This stage, I'm going to try to keep stuff clean as I can, and then I'll dust it one more time before I go to prime. Parts are all pretty clean. Alrighty. Now, if my calculations are correct, I believe the only thing I have left to work on, to prep, is the head portrait. What's up, Jeffro? You seem to jump on as soon as I'm ending. I'm about to take a break and grab some dinner. Or late lunch, early dinner, whatever, I don't care. Yeah, so far it's been a really good Saturday. I got a lot of work done yesterday, last night, right before you jumped on. I got the base put together. Let me switch over so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm just getting this prep work finished. Whenever I get back after dinner, I'm going to work on this head sculpt. This thing turned out really nice. Look at that. How good is that? So yeah, I'm super happy. All these little hairs, all these little tendrils, no misprints. I got a lot to clean up here in the back. I got to plug up these 2 drain holes, sand down a couple little support marks, a little bit, very, very gently. I think I'm going to patch the holes first, and then sand all at once. But yeah, this, and what's funny is I'm doing a tutorial on how to support, like how I did the supports on this, and the amount of like internal supports to make all these little tendrils hold together was crazy. I chose probably arguably the most complicated head print I've ever printed to date to do this tutorial. But man, yeah, it's basically flawless. So I'm super stoked to paint this head. So yeah, I'm gonna go grab something to eat because I'm a little bit hungry. When I get back, I'm gonna start attaching stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and pre-attach. I gotta get the base attached. These little fingers. Get that on there. That like so. I'll get this long ass tentacle glued together. I'm really paranoid about this. The only thing holding this tentacle together is this one little tiny spot. I'm going to hit that with some epoxy. Trim down that key. Actually, let me do that before I forget. Definitely going to do a 5-minute epoxy on this tentacle because it's a lot of weight. I printed it solid. There's no hollow. So it just weighs a ton. Very satisfying, but at the same time, it's I'm super paranoid about the weight of this thing. So I'm gonna epoxy that, and then seal, and then fix the little seams. This can't all be one piece because I think it goes on like this, and then sheet goes on in between it. So I'm pretty sure I can get away with just go ahead and pre-attaching that tentacle thing together. I gotta seal some gaps all on here. The explosion should be easy because it's all chaos, so I can just blob some. I'm gonna seal it with the plastic wrap or plastic wood. I'm gonna seal it with that, and then just blob some resin in there to, make more bubbles, basically. All these little fire bits, I gotta figure out where they go. These saw blades, there's one that has a really crappy connection that I'm going to have to attach it so that I can patch it right here. I'm going to go attach one of these saw blades, and then the others I think I'm going to keep separate till the end because those I want to make like super chromy. I want to try this. I have this new chrome that I want to try. It's this chrome metal. This is like mirror chrome, and it's made specifically for the airbrush. The first one I bought, same exact product, except this one does not want to go through the airbrush at all. Like, this is terrible. This is designed to like drop into like little micro parts, like basically just flood it and then it chromes. It kind of like the platelets of metal kind of pool together. So this is good for like little tiny spots of chrome. But this airbrush chrome I'm pretty excited about because I can airbrush all these like saw blades. I want to do this in the mirror chrome to make them super shiny. Those will be my test pieces. I want to see what happens with that first. Then I may or may not chrome out this tentacle arm It may be too shiny for that. This may be a darker, slightly more textured chrome since it's like robot metal or whatever. It's seen some abuse. But then I've got all these like springs and other curly stuff too. So like there's so much detail in this base, man. Look at this. It's nuts. There's so much detail. All the little metal tubes and the tentacle thing and fire and smoke and yeah, this is gonna be crazy. Good times. Good times. Yeah, there was no way I was going to try to print this in transparent and then prime around all these little bits. I was like, hell no. This fire is just going to be regular fire color. Not going to be the Gambit pink transparent fire. That would have been too problematic. So, do I want to attach it there? I'm trying to like keep it so that I'm not, no, I don't need to hide that seam. That's fine. So what I'm going to, ooh, gotta be very careful. Holy crap, I almost broke that. So I'm going to do that trick where I'm going to use a little bit of like putty to kind of stick it on there temporarily. Then I can paint it and then I can take it off. This one goes. Not there. Oh my god, I see a support. I gotta get this while I see it, or I'll forget. You little bastard, get out of there. There we go. All right, well, I don't know where this, oh, there it goes. That's where it goes, because right here, let's see what this looks like real quick. Yeah, I don't need to hide that seam either. I'll just attach it, paint it, detach it. But yeah, I'm super happy with how this thing printed out. Even though I got some gaps to fill here and here. Not anything major. And try to not, let's move this. I don't want to drop anything on it. Alright, well, I'll do some more quality control on this thing later. Thought I saw another little spot that I wanted to remove the thing. Remove any little supports. Just being super nitpicky now. Nobody's really would even see any of this. So many little teeny tiny. Ooh, this one's wobbly. I'm gonna have to set this down. Get rid of that. I'm not comfortable doing that. Let me get my nippers. Where the heck was that? I see some more down in there. Yeah, like finding the little mini supports that I put in to support these fire bits. I was finding these things like all over the place. All right, nobody's even gonna see down in there. I don't need to worry about that. Oh, I see that one. Oh, that big bastard. Like pulling out splinters. All right. I'll do some more quality control later. I am super hungry. So I'm gonna punch out here for a couple hours, hour or so, grab something to eat, and then I will be back to fill these gaps and finish up my prep work, and maybe even get started priming. I still got a long night ahead of me, so several more hours to go. But yeah, I'm so excited. This thing is going to look really good. This is probably the best quality print that I've made in a while. Even the Gambit had some issues because doing those transparent fire bits, I didn't really see it because it was transparent. So I didn't really get to prep it very well. Since this is all solid gray, I can really see what's going on. And yeah, this is a pretty solid print job. And that head sculpt is amazing. All right, enough. I will be back in a couple hours. Thank you guys for hanging out, and yeah, see you soon.